guys, and welcome to Quirky Crafts and Collectibles. I'm Pandora Box, and welcome to part 2 of basic bear techniques. So we're going into some crafts this time instead of going with some dolls. So last time I told you about my bears that I've made and how different they can look. And this week we're doing this bear. So, we're doing this bear. So he's a little bit different, and we're going to be showing you some more techniques of Monet the bear.
On part 1 on basic bear making techniques, we showed you what type of fur that we'll be using. We also need joints that we're going to be using, pencils, pins, also scissors, needle threads, and tools, and also stuffing as well. You'll also need a book. I bought this book from a second-hand shop, and you'll need a pattern, and inside the book you'll find the pattern you want. Of course, it's called Miss Monique, and all the patterns that you require. Then we need to draw out the pattern so we're not cutting out the original, and cut out all your patterns. So once we've done all that, then we start working out which way the direction of the fabric needs to go, and then we start planning out our pattern, always making sure following the instructions of your pattern. Now, we also showed you which way, the proper way of cutting your fur. You've got to make sure you don't cut bluntly, cut close to the actual fabric, and we then showed you cutting all your pieces. Also, you need to trim your bear's muzzle so it's nice and short. Remark it from the pattern, trim it up, and keep it nice and neat. And now let's continue with part 2 of basic bear making techniques.
So now when you're putting your bears together, always have a look at your instructions on how they're asking you to put them together. So it'll tell you what you'll need in your instructions, okay, materials, and always read first and then start putting them together, and it'll give you all that information and you just follow it through. I'm just giving you a very easy, quick editorial on how to put the bears together. Now in this case, these bears didn't have palms, but I'm putting palms in. So what we do, we get our palms first, and we're going to stitch these. Now I made sure I left enough fabric material, so make sure it's in. Pin these together. So I'll have a fur arm and a palm that is fabric. Now when we get to this point here, you're going to see the fur getting locked in. Okay, when we finish that, I'll show you how to pull those back out to make it look natural. So now we put these down together and make sure that they match, and we get these. So what you want to do, you want to stitch this first, okay, on your sewing machine, nice straight line, and then we come back and we put the arms and pin these together right round, and don't forget you want to leave this gap open. So once you've stitched your pads together, it'll look like that. Okay, and we put them right side in. And now we're going to start pinning them together. And when we put the pins in, what you want to make sure is that the fur is inside, goes inside. Don't leave it sticking out like that. You don't want that. You want it to go in. And this can take a little bit of time, patient with yourself, and the neater you are, the better result that you get. So when you've finished, you don't want to see any fur sticking out. Okay, so that's our opening, so we don't mind that. And we start again. So that's where we're going to be stuffing. You do that right round. So I've pinned all round and left that opening there, and now I'm going to stitch from here all around to there. So once we've stitched all around there, keeping that open, and that's our pad that's going to be in the inside, and we repeat for the second hand. So what we're going to do now is stitch these darts together. So I'm going to hand stitch these. Just makes it a bit easier because they're so small from the machine, just easier to stitch. So these are the darts. And again, always making sure that the fur is inside. Just to be safe, I'll just do another lock stitch. Nice and neat. And just repeat all four corners. Now once you've done your darts, all through, point dart to dart and put a pin, and pin around, and making sure you're leaving an opening just there. So once again, once you're pinning, making sure the hair, or the fur I should say, is inside. Just like that. So you've got no fur sticking out. There we go, and just continue right round. So here we are, all pinned around the body, leaving that pin, leaving this piece open. Now don't forget you've got your points where our arm's going to go and our legs as well. There and there, that match quite well. So now stitch around. So it's all stitched, and I'm going to put it inside out. Like so. There we have our body. See the edges now. When you get to this point, so it blends in, what I tend to do is just scratch it like that, and it blends through. That's not too bad. Yes, you might see a difference there, but that's what it is. So now we're going to be doing the head. So we have our our gusset, our heads. So what we do is put this together, and we marked A and A, where these go together, and we're going to pin and stitch down there. So we start there, just to give you an idea. So quickly, I'll just do this fast for you, because in the next step, just remember always pinning, making sure the fur is inside. B and B together, and then pin these two with the gusset. Pinching that, putting that together, and then we pin these together as well. Making sure they all match. And then we go around the head till we get to the back of the neck. And we'll come back to that. So now you can see the shape once it's all pinned. You can see the bear's face coming together. And now we're going to start stitching all around. And we'll come back and we'll put it inside out. Okay, so we've sewn all around his muzzle, the back of his head, and let's turn him inside out, right side out rather, and see how he turned out. Now I have this tool here that pushes all the seams out. You can check if there's any holes missed. And there you are. There's his head, or her head. Okay. Now with the ears, this is up to you. You can sew them as we've been doing, and before you stitch the head around, you can actually put the ears in there in the seam, so it's already in the seam, or once you've sewn them together, you can actually sew the ears after. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll be sewing the ears after. Okay, so put the head away at the moment and work on the ears. So let's stitch, pin and then stitch. So here are my ears, and I'm going to put them inside out, or the right side out. Make sure now the fur, as you can see it, it's gone inside. So what we do, you just comb it out, just like that, and that way. See there? You just comb it out, and that blends them together. I'm going to cut these threads off. Get them out of the way. Same with these ones. Put the right side up, and you can see how, although you keep the fur inside, you'll always get some that follows through underneath there. So that's that ear. And you can see they're both so different. Now, it doesn't need a lot of stuffing, so the stuffing that I'm going to use, besides the needle, is the fur. And that should be enough stuffing. Okay? That should be enough stuffing to fill that in. Because you don't want it too thick, just enough, because it is quite soft. That's all you need. And then you've got to decide what side you want inside. So I'm liking these two to be on the inside, these on the outside of the ear. These hasn't got a lot of patterning, where this does. So you just want to make sure when we do the ears that, do you want your ears to be all full colour on that side? Sorry, not in shot there. All full colour on this side, or having it on that side. So that's what you've got to determine, how you want the ears to go. But we'll come back to that. And next, so we've stitched around the leg, we've left an opening, and with the pad, here we go. So with the pad, we've got a brown, a dark pad and a black pad. Like I said, we're not going to be using the actual fur part, we're going to be using that side. So going with this side. So we match that end, go to the other side, match that end, and then we pin around the edges. Once again, leaving the fur going in. Now I've made a mistake already. Like I said, we're keeping this on the inside, so it's out, so we've got to go in that way. Let's start again. These are little mistakes you can make. If you pick it up quickly, you don't make so many mistakes. There we go. Now we're back to schedule. And I just like to tack it first, so I know exactly it's going to match everywhere. And then I start tacking these. And we stitch around. So finished sewing with the sewing machine. Just the last part here, I just hand sewed it, just making sure that I got all the stitches in. And what we'll do now is put it the right side in, right side up. So this tool makes it easy to put them in and take them out. Just checking, making sure I've stitched it all in, there's no gaps, no holes, and as you can see, I missed a piece there. That's pretty good. That's your pad, so you can see his pad now. And the thigh of his leg still got to come out. And there you have a leg. So I'll just go back and find that little hole. Don't think I did actually. I think he's fine. Okay, and now we'll do the same with the other leg. So now we have all our pieces together. We've got our two legs, we have our ears, our head, our two arms, that's what it looks like with the paws, and our body. So now that we've got our pieces all finished, we have our legs, our arms, body, head and ears. And then we've got our joints that we're going to be using for each of our limbs and our head as well. And we've also got, I'm going to see if I'm going to be using a plastic nose for this teddy bear instead of doing embroidery. I might do some embroidery on the mouth, and I have some eyes, so I'm going to be using black eyes for these ones. So now we're going to put our holes in the areas where we're going to put our joints in. So we've got our pins there, they're marked at those places. So turn him inside out again, and we're just going to insert a little tiny hole where the dot is. Just enough for the screw to go through. So now what we're going to do is going to put the joints in. So we need a screw, a washer and a wooden dowel. Put that through the arm once we find the hole. Then this goes through to the body. Find the hole, you can feel it, and that goes through there. And then we repeat. And we screw that in, get it in a bit tight as you can. Now as you're screwing it, the back is turning as well, so we need a little one of these. Going to screw this part in. Just feeling it, see how much I've got left. Still got a little bit to go. And that's on. So that's one arm on. And repeat with the others, the next arm too. So now we have our bear connected. He has his limbs. As you can see, he's still very floppy. And now we're going to start stuffing him and putting some pellets in his feet to give him a bit of weight, and then we put him together. Then we do his face. So these are the pellets that we're going to be using. They're like that, and they give a bit of weight to the feet and to the bottom of the bear. So it does get a bit messy, so I use a container like this. I kind of made a little scooper. So what I do is I put the leg in here, snipper. Get some beads. And that's why I have it in here, because you can see they can fall everywhere. And depending on how much you put in there will determine how much you want in the foot. And you can feel the weight, and that'll determine how much. So I can put a bit more in there, and that'll just give me enough there for some weight in his leg. And that's plenty. Once you feel like you've got enough pellets in each arm and legs, the fun starts, and that's stuffing the body. Just making sure they're even. This one feels okay. So now we're going to stuff the legs. This is where this tool comes in handy. It's a surgical instrument. I'll just get a bit of stuffing as I go. Actually, this way. It's good when you've can't find the opening, and you just start stuffing. Depending on how much stuffing you put in will determine how floppy he'll become, or how sturdy he'll become. And all that, just fill that in there. So we've got a bit of stuffing to do. Just finishing off his legs, making sure there's enough stuffing there. Yep. Before we close him up, and then start doing his arms. Now you can, like I said, you can use your tool, or you can use your hand this way as well. Just make sure it's pushed all the way in, so it's nice and firm, but not too tight. It's going to knock somebody out. So his arms are all filled, his legs are filled, and now we have the body left. But before we do that, we still have to do his head. And we're going to work out where his eyes are going to go and his nose. So before we stuff the bears for head, we work out where his nose is going to go. So we made a hole where the nose goes, put that through. Thick place. And we punch this through. And they're quite easy. Once you push that through, that's it. It's not going to come away. And then we do the same with his eyes. Just going to put 2 pins where I think the eyes might go. About there. So now his nose is in, his eyes are in. Let's see how he looks stuffed. So there we go, stuffing him up. I think it needs a little bit more, just to make sure he's got enough stuffing in his nose area. Really push it in, and then you can see how empty that is. It still needs more stuffing. Just keep going. Keep putting it in. Okay. He looks like a seal at the moment. It's got like an eyebrow. It's got a bit of an eyebrow there. And another eyebrow there. Bit of a character. Alright, so that's his head. Pretty stuffed. Pretty good. And now what we're going to do is seal this area here. Okay. You need really good strong thread for this, and I do have a dull thread. This is what I use. It's very, very strong. And my needle. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull a pull thread. So I'm going to put it through there. I'm going to take it from the inside and go around. And this will create like a drawstring. There we have the thread pulled through, and then when we're ready, we pull that in. Okay, so before we do that, we've got to get our pieces together. We'll just pop that there. Bring the body back, and we have to find the spot where his head's going to go. So we're going to use different size. This is a small washer, split pin. We put this in there, and we draw a thread. This is where it's good to have a extra hand. Keep it nice and tight. That's pretty tight now. I'm just going to leave that thread there for now. Looks pretty tight there. And getting the body, we've made the hole in the head for the head. Now we want to secure that. Another washer. Whip through, wash it through. Now this is where you'll need your long nose pliers. Get that corner there, and you want to curl it. Do it this way. And the head is on. And now we can stuff the body. And once again, we're going to stuff our bear with some beads, a scooper. So this is just for the bottom. This kind of gives me an indication on how much I'm putting in. That's one scoop. Just got to play with it to go in. Feel of it. Yeah, I think I can do 2 scoops. This helps if you want him to sit down. Oops, I missed there. That's why I like to do it over the container. I think I might do one more. Yep, that'll do. And now we stuff. Just make sure it's all the way down before you start putting the stuffing in. When they're bigger bear, when they're bigger bears, it's quite easy to stuff them with your hands. And smaller bears. I think he's quite stuffed, and starting to get quite big now. I have a little bit more stuffing left from the bag. Just about finished, I might as well just use it. Okay. So now we're going to seal the bear. So we're going to do a ladder stitch. Put all that all out. Start from the inside. Making sure all the fur's out before I start stitching. I'm going to thread it through here, and that way the thread disappears, and do a lock stitch. So we're going to be doing an invisible stitch. Lock. So 1, 2. We should lock it. Okay. It's like a ladder stitch, and it kind of disappears, so you don't see the stitching at the end. As you can see, it's totally disappeared. And we finish that off with a lock stitch. We're kind of almost running out of room here, so I've placed his ears where I think they should go. You can see his face. And now I'm just going to do a thread through the ears to secure them, and I'll do that as an invisible stitch as well. So just get in position. What I've done is just put a pin, pulled it and pushed it in that way. That way I've got an area where I know where I'm going to be stitching. I take my thread through the back, pull it through, so you can see, hopefully you can see that, pulling it through, there it is there, and it will disappear, and then I anchor it up the top here. Lost it, I'll do it again. Put that through. Just going to anchor it here first. And just feel his ear as you go through, as you're stitching it in. Now, I'm going to do that from the front, and I'm also going to be going right round to the back. And that's one ear secured in. Now the next stage we're going to do is do his mouth. So I put 4 pins where I'm going to be putting his mouth. You get your thread, and this is a good test first. And that's how you'll end up. So he'll end up with a smiley face. So I'm happy with that. Let me start. So I'm going to anchor thread first. And our bear is done. That's a good boy looking after. Oh! Well, there you go. That was part 2 of basic bear making techniques. I hope you got something out of that, and it makes it a bit understanding how to make bears. Now, I'm not a professional. I just love making bears, and I just found new techniques and different ways of making bears. So you always put your own technique in your making bears. And remember, not one bear is the same. They're all different, just like us. Well, until next time, make sure you subscribe and give me a like. And if you like to share my channel, I'd love you to do that too. So until next time, I'm Pandora Box. Chuckers!